Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, readers, listeners, and viewers from across America and around the world. It's September 2nd, 2011, and we're about 4 days away from Elenin reaching Mercury and then being drawn towards the orbit of the Earth and possible interaction. We don't know. I apologize for the previous broadcast and that the sound quality, I had a bad connection and did not realize it. And so the information was muffled, and I didn't want, this information is so critical, I didn't want that show to stand as it was. And so for those of you that did, kind of bear with it and listen to the broadcast anyways, God bless you, because there was a lot of very relevant and very important information there. But for those that couldn't trudge through it, this broadcast is for you and for all those that were not able to catch the first broadcast. And I actually since I did have a couple extra days to prepare for this one, I was able to bring in quite a few more pieces of the puzzle from other ancient sources, and everything that I will be bringing to you this evening, it will be from ancient texts that are associated, or ancient prophecies that are associated to the phenomenon that we're dealing with, as far as Elenin and Niburu being a dual phenomenon. And right now, everybody is reporting on Elenin and talking about Elenin, and there's a JPL massive timeline about its movements, where it will be, the exact day, hour, time, and also how many astronomical units it will be away from the Earth at every moment while it is moving through the ecliptic of our solar system. And after October 16th, it should be moving out into the solar system, and then the Earth should be passing through possibly an Elenin debris field, we don't know, but possibly passing through and going through into the safety of its continuous orbit, while Elenin moves off into the large expanse of the universe and continues in its long and strange orbit. But what is not being talked about, and why I wanted to break the information and do the show that I did previously, was that nobody is discussing the possibility that there could be something trailing Elenin, something of an even larger size, something that we can't see with the naked eye, something possibly of a brown dwarf Niburu with its own moons now. Niburu has a lot of moons, and it was one of those moons that struck Tiamat early in its history that caused the asteroid belt and all of that debris field, and that was actually the birth of comets and asteroids as far as within this solar system. It was that cosmic cataclysm that happened so long ago that, was responsible for a lot of the strange anomalies that we see, the different perturbations and strange orbits, even like Venus with its rotation being in the opposite direction. Very, very strange. And I'm going to talk about that as well, too, because one of the other things I'm going to be covering in the course of this show is the Hopi blue star, red star, blue Kachina, red Kachina prophecy. And the reason that I find this prophecy so very relevant to what we're talking about as far as Elenin and Niburu is because it talks about and describes two objects returning sometime in our future, which could be possibly even now. And it talks about these terrible twins, and one being the appearance of a blue star and the other being the appearance of a red star. And in the ancient accounts that I'm going to be reading from, and I'm going to be reading from the Kolbrin and the Bible, the New Testament, Revelation, and several other places, and I'm going to be kind of tying all these things together. I did have the time to kind of plot all of these different pieces on a kind of a timeline. And so as I read through the Hopi prophecy, I will be breaking it up and bringing forth other pieces of information to let you know how all of it kind of ties together. And I'll give you my sources as well, so you can go and verify all these things for yourself, study them for yourself, and see if this indeed, if all of these things connect for you. If you think that the phenomenon that we're dealing with possibly over the course of the next month, 2 months, that Elenin and Niburu are within our, in the interior of our solar system and quickly coming to the point where they're going to cross over the orbital path of the Earth. Who knows what's going to happen? All I know is that we've got to be ready at all times, that we've got to live like there's no tomorrow and treat every person that we meet in every one of our days as like the last people we'll ever get a chance to speak to or have conversation with. That we're not promised any more tomorrows, and we don't know what's going to happen. And so be ready at all times, and that's why I think it's critical for those that don't have a relationship with the Father and the Son that you seek that, because they are the arbiters of salvation and judgment. Without them, you're not going to make it into the next world age, which really is quickly coming upon us. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and start with these prophecies so that I can also let you know about the destruction of the first world age, because a lot of people have never heard about that or know about it, and it's described in 2 Peter chapter 3 and also Jeremiah chapter 4. And the Kolbrin gives a beautiful account of exactly what happened during that destruction of the first world age. And also I'll explain what that was that happened, what that cataclysm was that happened during the first world age, because not a lot of people know about this as well. So, and if you don't have not heard about the blue star, red star Kachina prophecy, it is from a Dr. Robert Ghostwolf. He was on Art Bell's show, and he brought on the Hopi elders with him, and they discussed and they talked about this particular prophecy with him at that time. But he also published a book called Last Cry, and I believe this was in 1998. And in this book, which I actually have a copy of it, and I didn't even realize it at that time, but I've read it before, and he mentions this prophecy in that book as well. So I'm going to read from the prophecy so that you can see, and then I'll stop periodically to tie in some other very relevant information that will give you greater insight into all of this and how it all kind of ties together. So it says this. The Hopi elders appeared with Dr. Robert Ghostwolf on Art Bell's show. The story of the Blue Kachina is a very old story, very old. I have been aware of the story of the Blue Kachina since I was very young. I was told this story by grandfathers who are now between 80 and 108 years of age. Frank Waters also wrote about Sakasuhu, the Blue Star Kachina, in the Book of the Hopi. The story came from Grandfather Dan, who was the oldest Hopi. Also, if you would, I just want to verify that I'm coming through clear. Mama B, if you'll give me a shout out in the chat room there, I just want to make sure that this is that you can hear me clear and that everything is good, because this is very important. I want this to come through precise and as concise as I can. So I'll check in just a minute. But continuing on, it says this. It was told to me that first the Blue Kachina would start to be seen at the dances and would make his appearance known to the children in the plaza during the night dance. This event would tell us that the end times are very near. Then the Blue Star Kachina would physically appear in our heavens, which would mean that we were in the end times. In the final days, we will look up in our heavens and we will witness the return of the two brothers who helped create this world in the birthing time. Poganahayu is the guardian of our North Pole, and his brother Palanagawayu is the guardian of the South Pole. In the final days, the Blue Star Kachina will come to be with his nephews, and they will return the earth to its natural rotation which is counterclockwise. Okay, I'm going to stop here for just a second. For those that haven't studied the old, very ancient Babylonian epic creation tales and also the Akkadian epic creation tales that talk about Marduk, in those tales, what is being described is the war between the Lord of Hosts and the dragon Tiamat. Now, what people don't understand is that in this particular text, and this is the Enuma Elish as well, that in this particular text, what is being described is the birth of our solar system and the interaction between the planets, and how Niburu, as an interloper, as an outside planet that was not part of the original unfolding of the solar system on the ecliptic, wherein all the planets rotated in a clockwise fashion. That all these planets rotated on this plane in a counterclockwise clockwise fashion, and Niburu came in counterclockwise in a different rotation, and because it was going in that way, it was led into a conflict with Tiamat, which used to be this big watery planet that was there where the asteroid belt now is. And it describes in this Enuma Elish and all these other epic creation tales, Niburu, one of the moons of Niburu, striking Tiamat and gutting her through the middle and splitting her in half. And it was on the next return orbit that Niburu actually shifted Tiamat in another one of the moons of Tiamat, which is our moon now. They call it Kingu in the Sumerian language. That these particular pieces of that planet were moved to where the Earth is now, and it became the new Earth, or what the Sumerians called Ki, Ki. And once the planet shifted to this particular orbit, inside the, it used to be on the outside of Mars, but now was rotating on the inside of Mars, and became the third planet. And once this happened, this is what is celebrated as the cosmic cataclysm and the war between the Lord of Hosts and the dragon. And the reason it's celebrated as so is because this event is how the Lord, our Father, the Creator, and His Son, how they brought the Earth into this orbital position at the perfect distance to then harbor life. And that's when life on this planet began, and that's when the history of this planet actually began. And so in this prophecy from the Hopi, you hear where it says that the two brothers who helped create this world in the birthing time, that in fact Niburu did have a large part to play in the creation of this planet and placing it where it is now, to where it could then harbor life and become a proving ground for the souls that would then incarnate here. And so I'm going to read an account from the Kolbrin Bible. This is from chapter 3, the destruction and the creation and recreation. And this is from the first, this is about the first world age and about this particular event, the cosmic cataclysm that happened to bring the earth to where it is now.